In the past, LG has had two different main series that we've seen in the US. We've had the G series and the V series, and we've had two different versions of those. Now enter the LG Velvet. It was released originally into the international market as well as European market, and honestly, up till about a couple of weeks ago, I didn't think it was coming to the US market. But as of 2 weeks ago, I've had my device, the AT&T variant, and it is available currently for $599 from AT&T, and very soon from T-Mobile and Verizon. So today we're going to talk about the brand new line of devices from LG called the LG Velvet. I'm going to share with you guys my thoughts about this device since I've had it for the last couple of weeks. So Sabah everybody, buckle up, hit that like button and subscribe. Let's go ahead and start talking about the two different variants, the unlocked model international in green as well as the AT&T model in silver. The LG Velvet is here. Like and subscribe and make sure you hit that bell icon so that you're always notified to whenever we have new videos on the channel. So what I have in front of us is two different versions. This is the unlocked international model, and I do want to say thank you very much to Joshua Vergara for allowing me to borrow this for the last couple of weeks. And on the right side is the AT&T model that is currently available for $599 directly through AT&T's site. The case itself is a gray color. This actual device is in Aura Silver as well as the Aura Green that we have here. And the one difference between the US and the international model also is the fact that the AT&T model only carries 6 gigs of RAM with 128 gigs of internal storage, expandable via micro SD card. Now the expandability of micro SD is available on both, but the 6 gigs is one of the limitations. There is going to be a different version that is 8 gigs. As far as the actual display, same display as the international model. We're looking at an identical panel on both the right side and the left side. The main difference is it's curved on the right where it's flat on the left, but you would never know the difference when you're looking at them inside of the case. They're both 6.8 inch at a 20.5 by 9 aspect ratio, full HD resolution POLED cinematic full vision display at about 395 ppi on both displays. And what I like about them is the fact that we can actually flick applications from one side to the other and the resolution stays the same. Now, both of them support also bamboo input, which means pen input similar to the way we saw it on the V60. This is definitely going to be supported here, although not included in the purchase, but I will give you guys a link in the description below to be able to pick up one directly from Amazon. Now, as you can see in front of us, we have two different versions. The AT&T model is the one with the moniker, obviously the silver one on the right, and on the left is the international unlocked model. Aesthetically, there is no difference between the two, so that's one thing to keep in mind. So you're getting the benefit of everything that is available on the international market. 4300 milliamp battery in here, Android 10.0 out of the box, 5G, LTE, 3G, and 2G support on both of them, depending on the market you're in. The AT&T model is tuned to work with the low-band AT&T 5G network, which is now available, so no more 5GE. It actually is 5G, and it is basically the low-band version of it, not the ultra-wide technology that we've seen in the past. On the top, we have access to the SIM tray, as well as the SD card option, as well as one of the microphones. Now, both of these guys support the 3 teardrop sensors, as they call them. And essentially, it's because you notice that the main camera kind of drops down. The two secondary cameras are actually below the glass, where the other one is actually protruding a little bit. You can see it right there. So the main sensor that we have here is a 48 megapixel sensor at f1.8. Then we have an 8 megapixel wide angle lens at f2.2 and a 5 megapixel depth sensor at f2.4. So essentially two cameras that we're going to be able to use to take pictures, and the third one, that 5 megapixel, will help us with basically bokeh type of content. So images as well as anything else that requires a depth of field. The last but not least, of course, is a dual tone LED charger here, wireless charging support on both of them, and of course both support a 3.5mm headphone jack that is sitting here with the software optimizations from LG. Now, one thing LG did make sure everybody knows is the fact that the symmetrical view that we have here is symmetry on both front and back. It's curved on the front, curved on the back, and that gives us the ability of seeing basically a perfectly symmetrical device that is present on the front as well as on the sides and the top. On the left side, we'll notice that there's 3 buttons. There's the volume rocker up and down, as well as an initiation button that you're able to program. When we look at the bottom, we have a same thing, 3.5mm headphone jack, USB-C for data and charge, a microphone, and of course the bottom firing speaker married to the top firing speaker to give us that stereo speaker experience. And of course, on the right side, all we have is the power button to initiate. The displays on both of these are exactly very much the same. We have an always-on display that is supported here. Both support in-display fingerprint sensor as well as shortcuts to be able to launch the camera. As you can see here, the international model right now is kind of showing on both sides. As far as the display, again, full HD, very, very nice. One thing to keep in mind is, again, this is going to be the successor, or at least a secondary device released by LG in the US. So what we have here is the LG Velvet next to the V60. So you'll notice same button configuration. The device is slightly shorter, not as much. And of course, we have a flat display here on the V60 where we have a curved display. Typically, this actually goes the other way around. The curved display devices are generally more expensive where we see it here. But again, 865 powerhouse and 765 powerhouse mid-ranger, top of the line flagship. So both of these guys, again, US market. Both support wireless charging, multiple cameras on the back, although the V60 definitely has a few extra tricks up its sleeves. LG did include a case for us here that is very, very nice. I find that it looks really good, specifically with the green one, mostly because of the green tones that we have here. So you can definitely see right there a couple of pockets for a credit card and maybe some paper money. But everything else looks really good. And of course, seeing support or accessories that are nice and made to accessorize this really very nice, gorgeous display, it's definitely really nice from LG. One of the other things they included in the box was this nice LG Velvet, basically the sanitizing case that uses UV light. Now the cool thing about this is essentially you're using the same charger that comes with you, with your device. You plug it in directly in here as an in, and you're able to basically use USB-C or USB Type A to charge your device while it's charging. And as I'm showing you guys with the video right there, it looks absolutely fantastic. You're able to open it up, put it in, and then allow it to go ahead and sanitize your device, and of course make sure that everything stays clean. It doesn't necessarily just has to work with the LG, but of course it works with the V60 or the LG Velvet just as well. Definitely very, very nice, and I will definitely be using this with every single smartphone that I have. Now, as I mentioned to you guys at the beginning, we have a 16 megapixel front-facing camera. This is the 6.8-inch display. It is curved. It definitely has some nice curvatures on the side. We are running Android 10.0 with LG UI on top of it. And of course, the cases that I showed before, the white one is the one that came with the green one, the international market. The US market is going to be the gray one. So the device is an Aura Silver, as you can see, is silver color, definitely fingerprint prone. But when you use it with the case itself, it actually becomes very, very nice. So inserting it in the case is very simple. Just the same way we had it with the V60, you slide in to the USB connector, you connect it, and then you pop the tops on the other side. First time when you insert it, it doesn't automatically turn on the display. So you have to unlock your device, and then you have to click this little button that's present at the top. So plus this, click it up, and then at that point, the display will charge up. Both displays will run as long as you have enough battery power. So anything below 15% of battery on the main device will allow you to use the secondary screen. Once it drops below 15%, unfortunately this one will go away. Now keep in mind, even though we have one device, we're still running two different displays. It's not a foldable display, meaning everything you run here, you're able to run in multiple sessions. I can actually run two different applications at the same time. I'm even able to run three different applications at the same time. So let's go ahead and open up the options here. You're able to customize your multi-app. This is very nice. Some of the software optimizations that we see here have been done over what we saw in the past with the V60. Namely, I can swipe down from the top to open a notification panel, and that was never an option. In the past, we always have to swipe down to open universal search. In this situation, I'm able to configure a couple of options. So if I want to be able to open up, let's say, the camera and the gallery, it opens it up automatically right there. And that means every time I take a picture, I'll go ahead and snap a picture. It should be able to snap it right there. But if I'm looking at the last picture, I'll go ahead and take one more, and this time will be of the device. You'll notice that it's going to jump over and it'll show it to me right there. Very easy and very good, specifically whenever you're trying to take pictures and don't want to necessarily have to keep clicking that button. Your secondary screen works as a secondary tool to augment your experience. Now, those aren't going to be obviously the only options. You're able to customize whatever you'd like. Now, for me in this situation, I'm going to go ahead and launch Tidal on the left side, and I want to launch Twitter on the right. But let's say I want to be able to do a little bit more. I'll go ahead and hit Twitter, and I'll hit the multi-window. So it means I'm actually running a third application, and I want to be able to run YouTube. So here I can have my YouTube feed. I can close this, and you notice everything else runs the exact same way. So this is my Tidal application, my music tab. I have my Twitter tab running at the same time, and I also have my YouTube tab running at the same time. Swipe up from the bottom, swipe up from the bottom. And let's say I want to be able to do something a little bit more. As I showed you guys at the beginning, so let's go ahead and bring this down. And let's say I want to be able to do gestures. I can actually use a 3-finger to swipe from one side to the other. Same thing, back and forth. Very nice, very easy, and very simple to do. There's not much really you have to do to be able to initiate the gestures. Even though we have the punch hole option here on the left side, there is no secondary camera. There's also no speakers. So the only thing that we have here for symmetry is that they use the exact same panel they have on the right side so that we have the same matched resolution on the back. One thing to keep in mind that if you do switch to display all the way to the back, the secondary screen will go to sleep and it stops becoming responsive to touch, and at this point you're using your device as if it's just sitting on its own. If you're using it in this situation, keep in mind that you will not be able to use your secondary camera in the back. If I try to launch it, you'll notice first and foremost it jumps straight into the front-facing camera. If I try to switch to the back, it's going to be a dark image because it's technically covered and you can see some of the light bleeding over there. But if I open it up again, it'll come back and it'll work really good. I find this very nice, especially when I want to be able to take pictures. I can actually prop my device standing up and I can set up my shot. And even better, if I say want to be able to set it up at this point, more of a landscape experience, it does the exact same situation. The secondary screen becomes like a nice prop, and it actually gives you the ability of leveling it to be the same level that you want. The second screen also works great for watching content, for watching movies. So we'll go ahead and launch the YouTube video. Let's go ahead and launch my video from over the weekend. And what that means essentially is we're able to use the stereo speakers on the actual device to be able to get great audio. I'm still able to interact directly with my Twitter, as well as watch full screen 1080p videos supported here directly from YouTube. So no issues at all, 1080p, full display, and it looks really, really nice. So it's great from content consumption, and of course, multitasking is going to be an absolute beast here. But that's not exactly where it stops when it comes to the secondary display. Let's go ahead and talk about gaming, because I feel like a lot of us don't really appreciate the fact that even though this kind of looks like a Game Boy, it actually does kind of work like a Game Boy. Let's go ahead and launch PUBG real quick for you guys, and I want to show you guys some of the things. So here, actually, let's launch Call of Duty Mobile. I'll go ahead and click the little button at the top, and I'm going to launch the gamepad, and I'll give it a second. And it's going to launch the gamepad, allow it to actually flip over. And what you notice right there is the initiation is actually a lot faster than what we used to have in the past. So Call of Duty right there, I have a specific keyboard or an actual layout for the gamepad in here. I also have one specifically made for PUBG, as well as there's some default ones that you're able to use straight out of the box, like for Asphalt 9 and so on. But what I like about it is the fact that I can actually customize it and I can actually go in there and play the game exactly the way I want. There are options that you're able to turn on, also haptic feedback, specifically for games that support it. And of course, I can add additional buttons if I want to, or even customize the ones that I have there. And it remembers it exactly as I have it every time. Whenever you initiate the game option directly within the gamepad, let's go ahead and close this, it'll remember your setting and you'll jump in, and you have access to the headphone jack. So low latency, actually no latency audio from games like this, specifically if you want to be able to enjoy your content on this. And the 765G is a quite capable processor, so we're definitely going to be able to enjoy playing games. So definitely a powerhouse when it comes down to multitasking. The ability of doing so much with two displays has never been better and easier on a device than it is on the Velvet. We have some optimizations that definitely take over from what we saw with the V60, and I really like them. Again, the ability of swipe down to open up notification panel, the ability of actually having that configuration for the gamepad automatically come up on the right level, meaning the device actually gets the gamepad where the display gets the actual game, because you definitely want to be able to use most of the stuff on the back here, and it works much better. So when it comes down to the actual pen, native support directly within the UI is actually present. You're able to customize chat, you can go into the settings tab real quick, customize basically the pen shortcuts. Those are the ones that you can see the buttons on here. You can customize them, memo preview, drawings, and of course off-screen configuration. A lot of these things that we're normally used to seeing in Note devices are here. And again, $599 is the price point that we're looking into here, with 5G support in the US. And major carriers are definitely going to be receiving it and of course benefiting from it. Let's go ahead and start talking about the cameras and what we can do with the camera setup that we have here. Dual cameras in the back with a third camera for depth, and of course what we have here is the ability of just launching it. So let's go ahead and launch this option here, and this gives us the ability of using it. Even though you see two different shutter options, this actually is mimicking just the display on the left, while on the right we're able to actually configure. So I can actually set up my camera. If I want to set it up facing down, want to set it up facing away, I can actually now use it, prop it up, and use the shutter button on the second display as opposed to using it on the main one. Of course, if I open up the LG Gallery application, I'm able to start snapping images and it'll just jump to that specific image. So let's go ahead and do this. I'll take a picture of the phone and you see it'll jump straight into it. And of course, just keeps me in the work. I can actually focus on what I need to do here. A lot of things that we can do, of course. But let's talk a little bit about the actual UI. So we have a 1x, 2x digital zoom that's from the 48 megapixel sensor, and of course using that 8 megapixel ultra wide that we have for the wide angle view. So definitely good options in there. We're able to jump between the 4:3 all the way to full screen, 16:9 if you want to customize those experiences. The main sensor obviously is going to be the best thing that we're able to do, especially when we jump into video. We have full HD support, 4K, as well as 1080p 60, as well as HD, which is 720. So sadly, no 4K 60 on this one. If I switch over to the front-facing camera, I'm still able to get 4K. This is something that is very nice. And of course, I can jump to full HD and 60 as well as to HD. So all of the same options that we have on the back sensor, we have them on the front. The difference is that we're using a 16 megapixel sensor here as opposed to the 48 in the back. So just keep that in mind. We have voice bokeh options here as far as basically basic ASMR recording, as well as voice bokeh, the ability of focusing the audio on the subject whenever you're filming. So that will work better on the back sensor, as I feel like it's a little bit more positioned that way, but we do have the mode available on both of them. anti-shake, which essentially is the stabilized view. That turns on full HD stabilized video on the back-facing sensor. On the front-facing sensor, if I switch over, unfortunately, we do not have some stabilization. So keep in mind, best performance will be on the back-facing sensor. We, of course, have time-lapse options, sticker mode, of course, more for night vision, panorama, manual camera. No manual video, keep that in mind, that's available only on the V60. AR stickers, of course, direct broadcast to YouTube Live, and of course, slow motion. Let's go ahead and jump in real quick and I'll give you guys some samples of images and videos that I've taken directly with this device from a couple of weeks now. And again, I've used it over at the beach, at the house, even took it with me yesterday to the farmer's market, so you can appreciate the images that I'm sharing with you guys right now. But as far as videos, I wanted to share with you guys a few different perspectives, again, from the beach and different areas where I was able to take. So this is a quick sample of the stabilization turned on with full HD, as well as voice bokeh. Voice bokeh is supposed to focus on me and only me, and hopefully you guys cannot hear that bird that's basically, and I do apologize for the light, is been going off for the last few hours. So let me know what you guys think of the audio with voice bokeh stabilization, so no jittering, and of course great audio from the LG Velvet. When it comes to using the different lenses that we have here on the Velvet, for the most part you can only use the main sensor when you go to 1080p 60 or even 4K. To be able to get to actually using the entire sensor array, meaning the telephoto, the cropped, as well as the wide-angle lens, which is what we're using now, you do need to drop down to full HD. So full HD 30 frames per second to use the different lenses, as far as using them in the back. No stabilization, sadly, so as you guys saw we walking, let's go ahead and, sorry about the light, you should be able to experience, this is type of the kind of video experience. Audio-wise though, you are able to turn on the microphones and change the ASMR or the bokeh feature whenever you want it. Now one thing that is surprising, at least with the 765G, is that we are able to get 4K on the front-facing sensor. Now it's 4K at 30 frames per second, so there's not going to be any 60 frames, but still 4K on the front-facing sensor, 4K on the back-facing sensor on the LG Velvet, which is really good, specifically when you consider the fact that this device entirely is at $599 with a carrier. So definitely very good on the price point, and of course you could definitely see the different camera experiences you're able to get with it. Although no wide-angle lens in the front, so this is pretty much me at arm's length, so just keep in mind whenever you're doing video like this is definitely going to be the experience, audio and video. We do still have the ability of turning on those different voice options that we had before. The one thing that I would need to mention, obviously, is a big difference between the international model and the US model is the fact that once you get it from a carrier, specifically AT&T, you're going to be receiving a lot of bloatware, a lot of applications that you probably didn't ask for. Luckily, most of these applications are uninstallable, so I can go to app info here and I can jump in here and just basically say uninstall. There's a few that you cannot, so let's go ahead and swipe back here, go back. There's a few specific ones, so there's the visual voicemail, the AT&T TV, AT&T apps here, there's a folder for them already. News and sports, again, a lot of different things. And if you like them, there's no problem there. Game of Thrones game in there, Solitaire, Walmart app, Amazon shopping, a whole bunch of different things. But there are some really functional ones, so it's the HD recorder. The game launcher is pretty much pre-shortcutted out for us here on the left. The app trash, LG Play, of course. LG Pay is also supported and it is activated, so you're able to use it to be able to pay with contactless payments on the back. Smart World, of course, music, quick memo here using the pen support. And this was a nice little image that I was able to draw. I was trying to basically work on my artistic mountain drawings. Hopefully this looks good for you guys. But you're able to customize a whole bunch of different things. I mean, from the pen input, let's go ahead and bring it down. Oh, so I was able to disable there. So most of the other applications, again, all you have to do is press, go app info. And if you can't uninstall them, you can definitely disable. So booking is one of those you have to disable, sadly. So just keep that in mind. Not everything is uninstallable, but this will come with bloatware, and that is just something that we are accustomed to, unfortunately, in the carrier versions of any device. The international version did not come with any of those things, but again, that's the international model, so just keep that in mind. The big difference between the two, realistically, at this point, is the support for 5G on AT&T needs to have a specific SIM card that is provisioned, and as well as an account that is provisioned to use the 5G in the US. Because this one, though it is running on AT&T, and I can actually show you that there, it's an AT&T SIM, I'm only getting 4G LTE. Pretty good connections. And most of the connection speeds that I was able to get here with AT&T are actually pretty good. Let's go ahead and jump into the speed test. And you'll notice that most of my connections are pretty decent, although most of them are registering LTE, even though I do show, well, let's go ahead and bring this down from the top. Even though I'm showing 5G at all times, it is sometimes pulling in a 4G LTE connectivity, so just keep that in mind. And that first one, I'm not sure what it is, even though it says 5G on the left, if it shows like ridiculously slow speed. I can assure you most of the time, you can see here, even the last one I ran on the 25th of July, it's almost 70 down and almost 8 up. Very good and very reliable, specifically when it comes to connection speeds. So one of the other options that they did include here to utilize the full display, if you want to be able to use it at the maximum size, is let's say in applications like here with YouTube, I am running YouTube directly within inside of Chrome. I'll go ahead and click the option here, and from there, you're able to basically turn on wide view. Now, wide view stretches the application across multiple displays, and I find this works a little bit better if you use it in more of a landscape, because you're still able to see everything without having that bar in the middle. And of course, we're able to swipe through, able to open up things. We can go into trending, different things that you want to be able to do. And of course, I appreciate using all of those, although I recommend logging in with your account to get the best benefit. There are other applications on the market that you're able to basically stretch to fit here. I feel like the best way to utilize the displays here is to use them for what they're known best. Run a full application on the left, take notes with it on the right, or even run 3 different applications with split screen mode present here on the right. And this would be perfect to, let's say you do a recording, an audio recording of a session or an interview that you go with somebody and you want to be able to take notes on it. It's very simple, very easy to set up. Swiping over here, and of course we have screen lock so that we don't have any accidental touches with our finger. We're able to use the stylus. I can unlock my screen and then go home. Launching applications in full view works really good, and again, swiping them from one side to the other works absolutely fantastic. The LG Velvet is offering us a lot of multitask functionalities built into this right out of the box. The fact that we support pen input out of the box is very nice. I would have wished that the package, the standard packet, included actually the bamboo pen, although it's not as expensive. Again, I'll give you guys a link to that in the description below. The case itself, I do want to mention in case you're wondering, if you pick up the device by itself, does not work with the LG V60 case, so you cannot swap cases between the two. There's also a difference in thickness. The Velvet actually is a little bit thinner and a little bit shorter than what the V60 is. So if you checked out the V60 in the past and you're wondering is the Velvet any better, think of it as all of the things that V60 has brought down a little bit, as like a notch down. So we have the curved display, we have the better aesthetics look on the device, smaller, thinner actual dual case, pen support again, same way as the V60. I find that the UI did have some optimizations, again, with the functional options where if I turn on the gamepad, it automatically knows where to go. I think that's something that hopefully we'll get as an update to the original V60 or any of the original versions if you have the G8X or even the V50 from last year. So definitely a win if you're thinking about getting an LG or a device in 2020 from basically not paying so much money. $599 is a mid-range price point. The 765 is a very capable processor. It's not going to give us 865 performance, but at the price point, I think it's still a lot of options. A headphone jack that sounds pretty good, wireless charging, stereo speakers, cameras that are very good both on the front and on the back. We get 4K 30 frames per second on both of those, and of course a case that just adds multitasking galore to everything that you want to do, from content consumption, media consumption, editing, taking notes, recording audio, and just doing a whole bunch of different things. It has a lot of things to offer. Not exactly as the V60, so if you're thinking of truly getting the best that LG has to offer you in 2020, I still think the V60 is the best way to go because it just has so much more to offer. A little bit bigger battery, a little bit bigger display, the camera modes in video is absolutely crazy. You can actually get so much more out of that. And of course, both of them are obviously available now in the US for you to pick from. So let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think of the the LG Velvet coming into the US market? I keep wanting to call it the LG V because it starts with the letter V, but I think this device is definitely going to surprise a lot of people, specifically people that have never heard of dual screen displays and are thinking only of foldables in 2020. They're not the only options. LG's been doing it now for 4 different versions of devices, and every time they release it, it gets better. I'll see you guys in the next video.